1300 WIMG and WPHY Channel 25 proudly presents today's topic on Trenton Talks. Today's topic is a program that discusses the topics that are important to you. And now, today's topic.
Hello friends and good evening. Welcome to Trenton Talks on today's topic. I'm Jacque Howard, your host. You're listening live over WIMG 1300 on the AM dial, on the internet, WIMG1300.com. And if you're watching, it is via Channel 25 WPHY, Mercer County. We're going to move quickly in this 30-minute segment. I've got a very good friend who's a mentor and someone who I respect a tremendous amount. His name is Marty Johnson, and he is the founder and president of the ISLES organization, and he's going to share a lot of information with you folks who don't really know about the ISLES organization, how vast it is, etc., and also something about his history. Marty, welcome to the program.
Great to be here, Jacque.
Excellent, Marty. And so let's get started. Let's just talk a little bit about your history. What brought you to the Princeton, Trenton region?
That's a great question. I was from a family in Akron, Ohio that struggled a bit. We had lost our house when I was in high school, and my parents divorced and went through some pretty challenging financial times. And out of that mess, I got a visit from the Princeton University football coaches who suggested that I apply. So coming out of that setting, I got tossed into the middle of Princeton's campus, and that got me thinking a lot about my place in that setting, as well as started thinking a lot about the situation I was leaving behind in Akron, Ohio, and with my family, and how to support them while I was coming east, as well as how to find ways to better really support families like ours in general. And so that got me thinking a lot about might not there be some better ways of doing that. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, go ahead.
It's needless to say that there was a bit of a cultural shock for you leaving Akron and then moving into Princeton University.
That's putting it mildly, but as a white guy, I could cut my hair and put a tie on and look like I fit, right? Mm-hmm. So it was certainly a culture shock, but luckily I was a good enough athlete that I had that common ground, that I could come together with some other athletes, create a place there, and then move outward from there.
Mm-hmm. Now, talk a little bit about your experience at Princeton University. What helped to guide you to create the ISLES organization and so forth?
So I decided to major in cultural anthropology. Now, part of that was because I had questions about my own culture, right? And I wanted to be able to explore my role and those cultural questions. And partly I also knew they would support me in studying abroad, because I really wanted to be able to take at least one semester and get down to Latin America, mm-hmm. and to be able to experience an immersion into another language and another culture. And so coming out of that, I was able to get a research project down in Brazil the second half of my junior year after mm-hmm. football season. And there I came upon a massive industrial seaport complex that was going to obliterate this beautiful fishing village. And of course the department wanted to know about the fishing village and what was going to be the cultural impact or social impact on that village. And I was looking at this project and thinking, how could the U.S. and Japan join Brazil to destroy such a beautiful estuary in the name of progress, right? Mm. And so I was able to witness that early, some resistance, especially to the military that was still running a government there in Brazil in 1980, as well as I was able to witness a growing sensibility about this one question, which is, do you have to go in and destroy places in order to develop them? And it got me thinking about, hey, there must be a better way to doing development in places outside of the economic mainstream that wouldn't destroy the environment and certainly would support those that are already there, right? And so out of that sort of intellectual pursuit, I was a vagabond for a while, went around the Amazon and some other places, but when I came back my senior year, I was able to write my senior thesis on this project, and it got me thinking a lot about that question, isn't there a better way, and to start researching those better ways. And literally, ISLES grew out of that kind of inquiry.
Just asking yourself and culturally saying, hey, what am I doing? What am I responsible for? And how can I share that information, basically?
Yeah, and partly it's how do you treat others the way you wanted to be treated when you're going through this. And I certainly didn't want to be treated as the victim of the cruel economy or labeled poor white trash, or I didn't want to be talked about as victim of this, terrible system that we have here. I wanted to be treated as still capable, still powerful, going through a tough time, but we'll be fine, right? And so my sense is that when you're going to do development in those kinds of places, you could do it in a way that honors the capacity that individuals, even if they're going through tough times, retain, right? How do you honor that? How do you build with what you've got? Because there's a lot there that oftentimes isn't recognized.
So again, thinking about the cultural differences, traveling down to Brazil and your experience in the 1980s, and then coming back to Princeton and writing your thesis on Isles, what was the atmosphere like with the rest of your students, or the students that you were in class with, and their idea about what you were thinking about doing?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because as you can imagine, you're at Princeton and you've got all of the major corporations there recruiting. You've got people getting offered jobs. I was interviewing and offered jobs that would have paid me more than my father ever made. And I had a number of people who were telling me, hey, Marty, this is interesting stuff you care about. Why don't you just make some money? And then if you go down the path of making some real money, then you can maybe go out and do something like what you care about at Isles. And so I had a tough decision to make, and I'll never forget going in the midst of my inquiry about what to do. I heard one of my mentors, William Sloane Coffin, Reverend Coffin, talk at Princeton, and he described basically the sort of the lost art of courage, and amongst all of the attributes that we seek, courage is the most important. And out of that talk, I felt like, well, maybe it's worth taking a try at creating an organization. I wasn't going to get paid much, but it was a moment to take some risks. And so that's what me and two other guys did.
And how old were the three of you at that time, approximately?
I was 22.
22 years old.
One was 23, the other was 26. He was a graduate student. The other two left within about 12 months of starting Isles, because there was just no real money to be made. But for me, it wasn't a big deal not making that much money coming out of Princeton, because I wasn't making that much money going into Princeton. So.
Okay. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the whole history of the Isles organization, because it's so vast, and there's so many different tentacles and different arms and legs of the organization. And I want to give you time to actually just share what's happening with the organization right now, what the mission is, and what you see for the future. But I just want to say, folks, you're listening to today's topic on Trenton Talks. My name is Jacque Howard. I'm your host. This is WIMG 1300 on the AM dial, WIMG1300.com, and WPHY Channel 25 on television. And I'm speaking with Marty Johnson, who is the founder, president of the Isles organization, who is a really good friend of mine and a mentor, and someone that I'm proud to say that I know personally. And I believe that individuals like himself are what we need to revitalize post-industrial cities like Trenton and Richmond and so on and so forth. And we're really fortunate to have him here. And he's been sharing a bit about the organization, about how it got started, et cetera. But Marty, let's shift to the focus from your time growing up in Akron and your schooling in Princeton at Princeton University. What brought you to Trenton?
So our first project at Isles was on an island in the Caribbean. Our second project was with the Mohawk Indians in upstate New York and Canada. And then we had a couple guys from Trenton come up to Princeton and ask for some help. They were interested in doing some housing development over on Carroll Street, and we came down and took a look around and started working with a community group there. And I personally fell in love with the city. I really wanted to be part of a community that was interdependent, that understood that we are all part of a community, and we do indeed need each other. And I also felt like if we were going to do this kind of work, I needed to learn from within. And so I rented a little room for $100 a month up on Parkside Avenue on the third story of a house, and gradually then moved the organization to be more focused in on urban issues, in particular Trenton. And from there, we had a mission that today has been, it's evolved to 9 words, and that is to foster self-reliant families and healthy, sustainable communities. So it's those two buckets, those things we care about, self-reliance. So say if the challenge is poverty, what's the solution? Well, to us, it's self-reliance. But you can't take people out of place. And so place is where we discuss healthy communities that are sustainable over time. And so ISLE's work over 32 years has been seeking to answer the question, what are the most cost-effective, powerful ways to promote self-reliance at the family level and to promote healthy communities? And to us, the ways we do that include planning and development, involving people and deciding what should go where in the context of redevelopment. To us, that means wealth creation. So what are the innovative ways we can work at the community level to help people deal with debt challenges, to help people save, to help people build assets, either a business or own a home? And then we have also the reality that you can't be healthy without dealing with the environmental hazards in our midst. And so we've been cleaning up land that's contaminated, and we grow a bunch of food on it now. We've been cleaning up houses that are poisoning children. They're getting lead poison from it, or asthma. And so we're coming up with innovative ways to train local people to go into those houses and to test for these things, as well as to do the remediation of those. And then finally, you can't be self-reliant if you don't have education and training. So we have an arm of ISLE's which is focused on working with young people who have not succeeded in formal academic settings. Most of them have dropped out. Many of them have done some time. And they're getting their last shot to get a high school diploma. They're learning the construction trades. They're renovating houses in their community and getting a bunch of life skills training. In addition, about 3 years ago, we created the Center for Energy and Environmental Training. This is for folks who have a high school diploma already, but who want to learn some of these future-focused jobs, whether it's air sealing, insulating, solar panel installation, cleanup of environmental hazards. We have now in the city of Trenton, we've got the go-to green job training facility for the state of New Jersey, and it's pretty exciting to see this evolve. All of this work, we talk about it not as programs. All of this work, we talk about it as tools that communities choose to use or not. And we offer some products and services. Think about us as like the Sam's Club. You come in and you're a member and you get access to these different departments. Some of them cost a little bit, most are free, but if you want them, it's your choice. And so we want to put that choice back on the shoulders of those where it should be, and that is the people that you intend to serve. Absolutely.
We've got just a little less than 3 minutes until we have a break, but I want to talk a little bit more about the educational component of ISLE's and Youth Build. Can you just share some information about that and why ISLE's chose to go in that direction?
Sure. So in the city of Trenton, roughly half the students will not graduate in 4 years, right? This is a big problem, right? After a child drops out, whose responsibility are they? It's not really Department of Education anymore. It's not really the juvenile justice system unless they're going down that path and they're incarcerated. It's not really the Department of Labor, even though they're unemployed typically. And so this is a tremendous challenge, and we feel as if you're going to talk about healthy communities and self-reliance, you have to deal with the thousands of people who have been underserved by our education system and our labor systems. And so that's why we sought to come up with an innovative way to get to young people and to offer an alternative path. And it keeps us hopeful for the world when you see folks who have struggled a lot historically, who have challenges that are enormous, that many of us would want to be under the desk sucking our thumbs having to contend with some of these issues. And they're coming through and they're doing well. So it's an exciting alternative to sort of a mainstream approach to education. And we now have 60 young people at ISLE's Youth Build Institute. And they learn to renovate houses. They're building raised beds. You've seen some of the work that they've done. And we've got really nice construction work that the kids are doing and making available to senior citizens and others.
Fantastic. So this is WIMG 1300 AM and WIMG1300.com. I'm Jacque Howard. The name of the program is Today's Topic on Trenton Talks. I've been speaking with Marty Johnson, founder, CEO of the ISLE's organization, and he's been sharing about the history of the organization. We touched a little bit on the educational component of the direction of the ISLE's organization. After the break, we're going to get into more details about the other legs of the organization. And the best way to find out about the ISLE's organization is go to the website, isles.org. That's www.isles.org. We'll see you after the break.
Pick 3 Green Ball from the New Jersey Lottery is back.
Oh, yeah?
And that means more chances to win.
Oh, yeah!
Because every time the green ball pops up, you get a second chance to win, free.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah, a bonus chance to win. Now, doesn't that sound nice?
Oh, yeah.
I thought so. Play Pick 3 Green Ball from the New Jersey Lottery, now through May 26th. And be sure to watch the drawings every evening on live TV. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What makes a Yankee fan a happy Yankee? How about a Trenton Thunder ticket plan that includes 2 fireworks nights and 3 awesome giveaway nights, including a Robinson Cano bobblehead night. The Happy Yankee plan also includes free food, free drink, and a Trenton Thunder pint glass. All of this for only $55. The Happy Yankee mini plan allows guests to enjoy the same seats at 5 Thunder games throughout the summer. Happy Yankee and other mini plan holders always receive assurance from their personal Thunder ticket representative. Switching game days is a cinch by calling in advance without any fees. For information, call 609-394-3300 or go to TrentonThunder.com. 609-394-3300 or TrentonThunder.com. Trenton Thunder Baseball. Fun happens here.
And welcome back, folks, to WIMG 1300 AM and WIMG1300.com and WPHY Channel 25 in Mercer County. The name of the program is Trenton Talks on today's topic. My name is Jacque Howard, and I'm speaking with Marty Johnson, CEO and founder of the Isles Organization. The Isles Organization is an organization, a nonprofit, that's been doing things for over 30 years in the Trenton region. It's based out of Princeton originally, but then Marty moved to Trenton and fell in love with the culture here, and has been affecting policy, driving policy, and changing lives in the community, from financial literacy to health education to youth education through the alternative school, Isles Youth Build, and we touched base on that a little bit prior to that. So Marty, let's just go through a quick elevator speech again about the Isles Youth Build Institute, and then we'll jump into the financial literacy program.
Right. So the Youth Build Institute is designed to make it possible for young people to get skills that are lifelong skills. So even if somebody isn't going to go into the construction trades, everybody that comes into Youth Build is going to learn about construction. They're going to get national certification as in a pre-apprenticeship way, which means they're going to get access to electrical, plumbing, carpentry, and a range of other skills, including the green jobs, so that everyone should know what's inside their walls. Everyone should. If you take control over your physical environment, you take control over your life. And so we think it's really key that we offer those types of tools, especially to folks who are oftentimes not going to go through the conventional 4-year routes in terms of the university settings.
Okay. Now, this time of the year is one of my favorite times of the year because of the spring, the weather's changing, and I love to be outside and feel that sun shining on me and my hands in the dirt. The Isles Organization does a lot during this time as well. Let's touch on that a bit.
Sure. So, Isles, the name Isles, it connotes what we consider it a metaphor. We work at community-based islands of development, right? And so this summer we're going to have now 50 Isles, which will be chunks of land ranging from a couple of city lots up to 12 city lots, and we're going to have tens of thousands of pounds of food grown here in the city. It's a big deal for a lot of reasons, and let me just go through some of the benefits. But before I go there, let's just talk about why this is so important to a place like Trenton. We've had 140,000 people in the city of Trenton. We're now down to 84,000. That leaves behind vacant land as well as vacant buildings, but it also creates an opportunity to really green our communities, right? And so in the past, people would flee the cities for their patch of green out in the exurbs, right? And now we can create that green right here. There's no need to have to leave, either to enjoy the grass or the green, But in addition, you can grow your own food and grow a bunch of it here. So we have, we'll work with groups of 4 or more families. If they come to us, say we'd like to take over a vacant piece of land, we'll provide assistance from seeds to soil testing, bring in some higher quality soil if necessary, and to fencing, things like that, and provide the technical and organizing assistance. How do you make decisions as a group, those kind of things. It's up to the group, but we have models that folks use. And so that's a really low-cost way of giving people the tools they need to grow a bunch of food themselves. The benefits of it are fabulous because families are eating more vegetables. You know, we've got the whole obesity issue, and that's a function of what you put in your body and how much you move it around. Well, if you increase your produce in the city, you're going to be eating better. And so it's cooling areas that are now too hot in the summertime. It's also improving the soil. It's putting eyes and ears on the street. It's getting people working alongside their neighbor, seeing that, you know, they might be different in the way they look, but they certainly do have a lot of common ground, and it's literally the common ground for hundreds and hundreds of families across the city, and increasingly now with young people. We're training young people because, you know, it's not enough to just put food into the community. We now have to literally reteach people how to prepare it, how to eat it, and so a lot of that has to do with starting with our young people. But in some ways, our community gardens are like a United Nations. We've got Russian gardens, we've got Southern African American, we've got Puerto Rican, we've got Jamaican, we've got a variety, we've got Pakistani, we've got a bunch of different types, and it's really fun to go around the city and to see what's being grown here.
Can you touch a little bit about the urban ag programs and the gardens that are affiliated with the schools in Trenton?
So the importance of the next generation. We've been doing this work for 32 years, and a lot of the elders who started with their gardens are now getting up there in age, and so now the question is, okay, who's going to be coming up? And so we're investing a lot more time and energy in the young people and making sure that they understand how this can be impacting their lives long term. Now, at the school levels, you have to interface with the facilities people and the teachers and make sure that you're bringing into the curriculum, you know, what the kids are seeing, touching, feeling out there in the soil. But you also have an opportunity here to get kids out running around, to get kids out physically moving about, and ultimately we want to make sure that the years ahead, as agriculture gets closer to where people are at, right? It's not going to make sense in the future for us to keep shipping tomatoes 3,000 miles from California. That just doesn't make sense. New Jersey now imports 70% of its food. This is the Garden State when we import. So the good news is that as the cost of energy is going up and we understand the carbon footprint of our folly, people increasingly are starting to say, okay, let's eat locally, let's grow locally, let's connect our restaurants to what's being produced locally, and that cuts down on the transportation, it improves the capacity for economic development. Because now what's going on is that we have the capacity to start growing food and selling it to restaurants and to others. That can become a real important generator of cash in places like Trenton that could really benefit from that.
For the people who feel, hey, I don't have a green thumb, I don't know anything about agriculture, I've second, third generation, just buying and eating fast food, etc. What do you say to those families and individuals that are out there?
Well, you know, the fact that 47% of Trenton's young people are overweight or obese is becoming a really big problem for families, right? So there's some feedback now on this problem. Kids are not healthy. And so parents are growing in their concerns for, okay, what do we do? So this becomes something that I think is certainly it's in the self-interest of parents to get their kids engaged in this. And from a kid's perspective, it's our job to make it fun. You know, we need to create ways to have this be a cool thing to do. And increasingly, growing your own food is a cool thing to do. And it's really fun to see that evolve. When we first started doing this 32 years ago, this was not a cool thing to do. I mean, this was a much bigger lift. People had never seen it before. They said this won't work in Trenton. You know, the kids are going to steal the tomatoes. The dogs are going to get into the gardens, and you know, we got that lousy soil, and we're going to, you know, all the reasons why I don't like that neighbor over there. And now it's become kind of that interesting model for, yeah, you got some vacant land here. Let's take a look. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's something that's going to be really improving people's taste, because the food that you grow here tastes so much better than other places.
Now, there's been lots of talk about CSAs. Can you go into some details about that, and how that can also help out on the other end for the folks who may physically not have the ability to go out and do gardening on their own?
So for those that don't know what a CSA is, it's called Community Supported Agriculture. And one of the problems of growing food at a pretty large scale is what happens if you have a bad year. What happens if, you know, you can't make any money this time around? What CSAs do is offer shares to people who will say, yes, I'll pay you, farmer, to grow food and bring it to us, and we'll share the risk of the harvest with you. But in return, we're going to be getting this food on a regular basis, and we're going to be benefiting, especially for those good years where the harvests are great. We're going to be benefiting by getting a lot more food for a much cheaper price. And so there's now CSAs around Trenton, and there's the potential for us to start doing CSAs now inside the city, and that's pretty cool.
Okay, good. So I've been talking to Marty Johnson, and the name of the program is Today's Topic on Trenton Talks, and this is WIMG 1300, AM WIMG1300.com, and WPHY Channel 25 in Mercer County. And Marty's been sharing lots of information about the Isles organization, its history, where it is now, how it's doing different things in the community in the Trenton region. And the best way to find out about all of the information is to go to the wonderful website that Isles currently has, which is isles.org. There you can find more information about how you can volunteer, how you can donate. You can spend easily several hours going through all the information, whether it's a concern about community gardens, about education, about green technology or green energy, etc. Most of the information is on the Isles website, or if you really feel bold and daring, you can just go ahead and Google Isles organization or Marty Johnson, and I can assure you, you will be as dumbfounded about how much information is out there, and you'll have to get in line behind me to develop some sort of a mentorship program with Marty. He's currently on my docket. So, Marty, is there anything else you want to share in the next 2 minutes or so about the organization, about yourself, about where we're heading as a city and as a country?
So I think the important thing to take away from this is a few things. One of them is that the kinds of stuff that we do at Isles is relatively low cost with a high return on it, and there will be a lot more organizations like ours, we think, in the future. The reason I'm still doing this after 32 years is because I believe very strongly that this is, in many ways, this is the future.